So we haven't started. Now we started. We're going.
I thought you'd started recording.
That was
I was so scared because I
audio
was in the
testing.
middle of. Okay. Well, if you're audio testing, you ought to use a nursery rhyme or something to make sure that a microphone is picking up all the different tones.
Ring of roses, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down. It's all good.
Why do the British say it that way? In America, we say it ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
I don't know. It's just you Americans corrupting everything and making things worse. What can I say?
We don't corrupt things, though. American English is archaic.
I'm sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, it's true. The
yeah.
dialect spoken in like Alabama is closer to what English. What's it? It's closer to Shakespeare's English than what's spoken in London today.
Oh yeah, in London I can give you that.
White London as well.
Yeah, it's a true point.
Like Shackleford or whatever the neighborhood's called.
So we have started, by the way. We've been saying nursery rhymes at the start of this.
Oh no! Oh dear!
I don't want to edit this out though.
Dear.
It's quite funny.
Oh my gosh, Atlantic banter. You know what? No, make that into its own separate clip. Atlantic banter is what we call that. Oh gosh, we could make a whole series of like just us roasting each other's countries.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Atlantic banter. Then we can do, oh gosh, now we gotta get like a Japanese guy or a Korean guy so we can do Pacific banter.
Yeah. Well, I'll duck out of that one because, well, I'm not quite in the Pacific, to be honest.
Well, no, but the England does have Pacific territories.
That's true,
yeah.
I can represent...
Is it
I can pretend I'm from the
British
Pitcairns.
Virgin Islands or something? Pitcairns, yeah. You can represent the 50 somewhat inbred poor people of the Pitcairns.
Yeah, I can just randomly say, oh yeah, I'm actually from the Pitcairn Islands, people.
Gosh, nobody would believe that. Gosh, what kind of unique accent must they have?
It must be very wacky.
It must be like Victorian or something?
Mm-hmm. Probably, yeah, I have no idea. Whoever arrived there, it's the kind of their accent, I guess, has been retained.
Yeah. Do they even have internet there? Like, it's the most backwater part of the world.
It pretty much is. I mean, you can only have so much with 50 people. I think they do have internet, though.
Well, I say 50 people. That was a joke. I think it's like 300, but...
I don't know how much it is, to be honest. I mean, you can have a look if you want.
You know what? I think I will. I think keep this in that, like that first like clip or whatever, like Atlantic banter.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, you know what? Oh gosh, what do we call this when we were doing it before? Like the rambling bits, like the.
I don't know.
The pre-show, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what? That's something else we can call this. Is the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like pre-show ramblings or whatever.
They do this on UO sometimes, don't they? It takes them about half an hour to get to the actual topic.
Oh yeah, well sometimes it takes a full hour, and of course the fans always egg them on because they want to go for the legendary 3-hour show, which rarely happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also I think it's just because so many of since I know his real name now is Nima Parvini, but I don't want to overuse the name, but I do.
I thought to be honest that was like an alias. I thought it was just something he made up to publish his books, but
Thought it was an alias?
Yeah, like an alias, yeah.
I'm not very familiar with Iranian names, so I wouldn't know. I assumed that it must be real just because I was like, sounds weird and foreign, must be right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's been a bit more...
If it sounded Welsh, I would have been more suspicious.
Yeah. I was gonna say something, but I don't want to dox the guy, so I'll steer clear of that.
But he's a published author and a former academic. It's not.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not hard to find pictures of him.
Yeah, that's the point. I think he's been showing his face a bit more he has done previously.
Yeah. He's more skinny than I expected him to be.
Really, do you think he was like massively fat? Because he is quite fat still.
I didn't think he was massive. I just thought that he was I didn't think he was bowling ball shaped, but I thought that he was eggplant shaped.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you have a different name for those in the UK as well. You call them some horrible French word.
Eggplant. What is an eggplant?
The big fat purple aubergine.
Aubergine. Yeah, that's it. Why on earth do you call them an eggplant?
Because it's white on the inside.
It's not
and it
it's
tastes
not an
like
egg.
eggs.
It's not an egg.
I've never eaten an eggplant. I admit. Well, actually, you know what? No, the wild eggplants like they have in India actually do look a bit like eggs. They're like a light off cream color, and they're sort of egg shaped. They're about also the size of an egg. So
Yeah.
it's like when the first cultivars came to America, they actually kind of resembled eggs. And then we just never bothered to change the name, no matter how we mutated them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of things that I understand that I'll give to you. I mean, we talked about it before with the state school and public school. I don't know why public schools in the UK is another word for private schools. So that doesn't make.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just a bit confusing because private school in America, school that's open to the public, but it's just you got to pay for it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I guess that's just down to history. Yeah. If you don't get the context behind it, then it's a bit confusing.
Yeah. So it's like how many people? Oh gosh, we never even. How many people live on the Pitcairn Island? Is it islands or
Island? I don't know. You should try and just search it up and something will turn up.
Cairn Island. Pitcairn Islands, Pitcairn, Henderson, Ducal, Onyo. Oh yeah, so there's like 4 of them.
Oh, you're cussing out a bit. It's probably on my
Okay,
end.
yes. Oh,
How many?
Sorry. I was correct. 50 people do live on the
50
main
people.
island of Pitcairn itself.
Yeah. And how many people live on the other ones?
I don't know. Oh, no, its peak was 233 in the year 1937.
People just
but
keep on
since there's
leaving.
nothing really there, a lot of people move on.
Yeah.
And its nearest location is Tahiti. It's the thing that it's closest to is Tahiti, and it's 1,350 miles from Tahiti.
Wow. Has it got an airport?
Oh, they don't. I believe you have to get there by boat.
A 1,350-mile journey by boat.
Yeah, but I don't know that they actually get their resources from Tahiti. I think they might get stuff shipped from Australia or something.
Yeah, you think so? Is that really the closest place to the to those islands? I wonder if they've got an independence movement going.
I don't really need one. It's not like the British. It's not like there's like even a military outpost.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's my point. It would be completely pointless. So, do you want to begin, or have we still going?
Oh
with
yeah,
the old...
gosh, no. I suppose we should. It's just a very fun rabbit hole.
It is.
Yeah. Oh gosh. If they did have an airport, though, if they did have an airport, it could be like that. Could be a lovely tourist destination.
Oh, it would be lovely, yeah. I wasn't thinking airport like big one with with runways, huge sort of concrete runways and things like that. I was thinking kind of ones that can take just a small plane. A quite low key sort of thing. Oh no. Oh dear. Keep cutting out. I will apologise. I'm going to apologise right now for the current.
Did you go quiet?
Yeah, I seem to be having some problems. Let me see if I maybe it's my internet. If I move.
Only the best quality here on the Truckcast.
Exactly. If I move this laptop, let's see if that will be any better.
Was there some electromagnetic interference or something?
I don't know. It's in an awkward spot. We'll see if this is any better. Our 1 million viewers, I'm just going to apologise in advance for you having to deal with these technical difficulties.
Now let me see. Let me check how many subscribers I've actually got. Surely not out of vanity. Surely out of innocent curiosity.
Of course. Now this is
124.
124. Okay.
Oh my gosh! I remember when I couldn't even imagine having that many. And now I need more.
You need more. You need your 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We need the Lobster Legion.
Yes. Subscribe, Lobster Legion. Thank you for watching.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, dude. That we should totally use that for branding. Oh my gosh. Assuming that Jordan Peterson hasn't already.
Yeah.
No, is like hey, it's like, welcome back, Lobster Legion. Today we'll be talking about Second Coming.
Mm-hmm.
Lord have mercy on us all, for the world is not in a good state. But that actually is one of that's not a joke. I'm not taking the Lord's name out. Oh no, why did it disappear?
That was me trying to get this to work again.
Oh, okay. Well, as I was saying, that is actually one of the topics up for discussion today.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we haven't squandered too much time. We've still got like an hour and 30 minutes left to talk about things. So yeah.
Let's see if I can just sort this out first of all. Aha, there we go. It's back on.
Lovely
stuff.
Oh gosh, sometimes I really cannot resist doing the cartoon voice. Cartoon voices. Yeah. Right. So the topics up for discussion today, dear viewers, loyal Lobster Legion. Oh gosh, that really is good branding. We really need to remember that. Okay. So some of the topics for discussion today. Children will almost always inherit the views of their parents. In their younger years, they perhaps might hold a more radical wait, you know what? You made this. I let you present it. I don't want to steal the spotlight.
Okay, let me just see if I can deal with... I'm still trying to sort out this technical... That's why it's not working, because I haven't... You keep reading. I'm sorting this out.
Okay, right. Children will almost always inherit the views of their parents. In their younger years, they perhaps might hold a more radical version of those views, but ultimately, most will eventually adopt their parents' outlooks.
Thoughts?
Thoughts on that? I don't know that that's all that true, but I think that might just be because I come from a big family, so I definitely see outliers. Mm-hmm. I would say it's less the outlooks and values, because I think that's very environmental. I would say that like deeper characteristics tend to be what children will have.
Yeah.
Because I'm my younger brother, you know, could not be more different from me. But at the same time, also like, what's it his values and things are completely different from, you know, like my mom's, for instance. Because my mom is, you know, like very pious, very good
Hmm.
LDS person, and my younger brother is like an out and out like communist, atheist, like all of the worst Zoomer stereotypes imaginable. You know,
Yeah.
like he's yeah. Um, yeah. But the thing that they sort of have in common is like some like deeper personality stuff of, you know, like being stubborn and rebellious and stuff.
Would you class yourself as rebellious,
Ah,
or did you have a
maybe
rebellious phase?
I I would say that I certainly had an open-minded phase, but the result of basically what I saw was just like everything. Basically, what happened when I went through like my open-minded phase when I was 14 was I basically discovered that everything outside of my upbringing, like, it just didn't seem terribly appealing. So I decided to basically just and like focus on church and stuff, and
Yeah.
like basically it just ended up reaffirming my values of like, yeah, the church is right about everything, and the secular world is horrible,
Hmm.
which isn't even like, yeah,
Do you say that as the
yeah.
church as the body of believers, or as the institution? Just to clarify,
Uh,
or
I
both?
guess both.
Yeah.
You know, because like, well, actually, no. I would say the institution, because the body of believers is not always. The body of believers is often disappointing, but the institution of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has never really disappointed me.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like individual people in the church have occasionally, you know, like they're human beings. You know, they're not perfect.
Yeah. And almost these institutions are things that we should try to kind of we almost should see them outside of like human control in a way. It's if that makes sense. It's like the humans, which are humanity is trying to use these institutions to make people better and more faithful. I suppose. I don't know how. I can't really
Yeah.
articulate this in the best way, but
Well, the thing that I would say is basically, I would say that everything on Earth, everything in the mortal world, is basically a reflection of something in the spiritual world.
yeah,
We see this with institutions as well. You know, as there are institutions that, because people don't really use institutions. Institutions use
yeah,
people,
mhm,
and good institutions, you know, use people for good. They use it through very good, honest means. That's why I think that AA's idea of like capturing elites and like realpolitik and stuff is basically just as doomed as, you know, like conventional democracy and the stuff that other people usually push for, because, you know, you can't use devil's tools to build God's house.
yeah, mhm. So, do you think the
Uh,
structure needs saving, or the people need saving? I guess that's the question.
um, I'd say the people need saving because the people are what give the structure value and existence.
Mhm.
Like what's it like? America does not exist without Americans.
Yeah.
Now, without Americans, it's just land. It's a very beautiful,
Mhm.
nice land full of all
Yeah.
kinds of different ecosystems and stuff. But it's just empty land, you know, without people.
Yeah.
And I'd say that institutions are similar. You know, like institutions are like buildings, you know. The nicest, most beautiful, most solid thing doesn't matter unless there's people inside of it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, right now, like I was saying before, though, about like everything being a reflection of the spiritual world, I would say that all institutions, be they good or bad, use people more than people use them,
Yeah.
and you know, and that's basically like a reflection of, you know, like good and evil spirits, you know, those things which are aligned with God and those things which are aligned against God, sort of manifesting in various institutions in real, you know, well, not real life, because the spiritual world is not unreal,
This is not
but in
visible.
our side of the veil,
Yeah.
you know, at risk of being too esoteric.
Mhm.
Uh,
That was quite the tangent, but a very interesting one.
okay. Yeah, I think that was a good, useful thing. So, do you think that's everything there? Do you have anything to add about like maybe how you have manifested your parents' stuff?
Hold on. Yeah.
Hi. We're going soon.
Okay.
So
So my sincerest apologies for that delay. My parents are going off to some party, and I was saying goodbye to them.
Oh, that's quite all right.
We can just
That
cut
is
that
quite
out.
all
It's all
right.
good.
Quite understandable. Yeah. Although alternately, we could leave it in, but like put some circus music over and just say like technical difficulties.
It wasn't that long, so we could do
I
that.
know it wasn't that long. Yeah.
So yeah,
Like,
did I? Yeah.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah. So also, it's just double checking. The audio is good, right? Like we're both equally like quite loud.
Judging by the meters on the audio mixer, I think we are. Yeah,
Okay.
we're all good.
Good. Hopefully they can be trusted.
Yeah, we put our faith in them.
Yeah. Oh,
So, what did I have to add
yeah.
to this? I mean, from my experience, I mean, I don't share a great deal of sort of world views or outlooks with my family. Like, as you said, outlook sounds like a kind of your points to your values, points to your worldview, and I don't think I share it. Perhaps the way in which I got to it might have been similar or inherited, but it was it was. I wouldn't say I just have a more radical view of that my parents had, or I would
Yeah,
adopt
because you're
their
not a
outlook
radical
eventually.
boomer.
No, exactly, and because generations are different, everyone kind of interprets the
For a
world in
moment, I
different
thought you'd be
ways.
offended on your parents' behalf. Like, oh, they're not boomers.
Well,
They're not that bad.
to be fair, they're not in the sense of age, but they are in the sense of culture.
They're that Bill and Ted types. Just be excellent to each other.
I don't really know. I think just like my parents.
Yeah.
They're quite nice, but kind of not too clued on, not too hyper political as us two.
Yeah, you know what? Though, like, speaking of, like, the Bill and Ted ethic, like the boomer ethic of just be excellent to each other,
Mhm.
like, I gotta say, corny as that is, it's, and like, as toxic as a lot of boomerism was, it's not nearly as bad as the sort of stuff young people do nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Mhm. Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
with
because
that.
like back in the because like with the boomer ethic of just be excellent to each other, you know, you did get people putting up with nonsense that they shouldn't have, and that was bad.
Mm.
But I think it was much better than the weird, just like constant sniping like we have nowadays.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just add as well,
But of
saying
course,
that
yeah.
saying that my parents aren't hyper political. I'd say, I mean, I guess this is another question, but would you say, I wouldn't say that the outlooks that we've come to and the kind of our worldviews exactly give us much joy, because it reveals to us the amount of things that are going wrong in the world. But it's,
Yeah.
the truth that matters in the end.
Yeah. Well, I would say that I'm not even all that political. I would say that I am philosophical.
Yeah.
You know, I'm almost post-political because even if politics is not exactly a sham, it is a shadow of something greater, and
Yeah.
I would say that yeah.
It's an expression of the spiritual values, so the religious values and the philosophical basis, not just a thing in itself, I would say.
Yes.
An expression
And you
of
know what?
civilization.
That just made me think of a thing. It just reminded me of a thing. Is like I just mentioned earlier about like the boomer ethic of just be excellent to each other.
Mm.
How they basically that caused them like the sort of the over tolerance of them putting up with stuff they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
That's basically what leads on to the weirdness that we have nowadays, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, the boomers have caused a, sort of the origin point.
They basically had no values.
Mm-hmm.
No, they basically had no values. You weren't allowed to criticize anybody for anything.
Mm.
Now people are like that has progressed to where we are today. So it really is sort of the most horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I had a conversation about this once with What If Altist.
Yeah.
Him and I follow each other on Twitter.
You had a conversation with each other on Twitter.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we do occasionally. Usually it's
Cool.
just me giving, like radical Puritan takes, and him just going, "Oh, bruh, you're such. Why have you got to be you?" And it's like, because I am, you know, yeah, and or else I'll make fun of him for being a Quaker,
Yeah.
or
Is he a
Quakerism in
Quaker?
general. Like once he posted, yeah,
Oh, dear.
like loosely, I don't know, like he has Quaker roots, so he likes to associate with that.
I can't say I haven't.
So like, there's
believed
this
this with
one
the Quakers.
time.
But go on, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the Quakers invented the modern prison system, so that's why it's called a penitentiary. You were supposed to repent. Whereas in Puritan New England, anything that was less than a hanging, they would just beat you for.
Yeah.
Um,
Carry on, though. With your point.
right, as I was saying, like there's this one really funny time when he was like, "What's the most beta philosophy ever?" And I said Quakerism. Yeah, that was a fun bit of banter.
That must have annoyed him a little bit.
Yeah, but he laughed. He responded with, "Fuck you, I own 7 swords." Laughing emoji, laughing emoji.
Mm-hmm.
So he took it well.
Yeah. I guess my original point that I was going to go on
Oh gosh,
from there.
no, I completely forgot. I completely forgot the point of my tangent was I got into a conversation with him once, and it was tying back into the boomer ethic about and how it was like them not being judgmental enough brought us to the terrible place where we are today. The thing that I said in a conversation about this stuff with him So he's not really Christian, but he kind of tries to be.
Mm-hmm.
Or not tries to be. He likes to associate with Christianity because basically he's a boomer. He is a very young, very naive boomer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say that he's a year older than me, but anyway. So like, what if autist? It's like, oh, but like Christianity is like, like just loving your neighbor, dude. Like love your neighbor, sort of brand of Christianity.
Yeah.
But then what I said is like, listen, thing is, and like what frustrates me about the modern world is that like being kind and forgiving to whores means nothing when whoredom is publicly celebrated and publicly acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do these things, like these nice things that are sort of like the more romanticized. I'm not saying that the more romanticized, like hippie aspects of Christianity are completely fake or completely irredeemable. I'm just saying that they kind of mean nothing in the modern world because there are no standards. And, basically what I want is to have a world where people are judgmental enough that it is meaningful to, like, be kind to people and give them a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. Mm-hmm.
So sorry for interrupting your thing, though. I just wanted to get that out there. What were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I just completely agree with what you say, with what you said there. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think I've just forgotten my train of thought there. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, what were you just saying before? What was your point? 'Cause I thought
Well, nothing. I just made my point, and
yeah.
I already made my point, so I wanted you to make yours if you can get your train of thought back on track.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna add something before I got back to my train of thought. I'll forget it anyway. See you later. In this hyper-political age, like, it's just everything needs to be political, and I don't think I would want a society in which that would happen. I think, like, I don't really care if people are not that bothered in a way, because I know there will always be, and we just need to accept that. Like, there will always be the majority of society will not be like, oh, you just did this or that thing which I disagree with politically, or that kind of thing, and that's prevalent today, but I don't think that's
in normal society, I would say, in a normal, healthy society, I would say that people would act that way about sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it used to be that people got ramped up about that, like about WWE and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there will always be like a.
Oh gosh, no. Oh, you know what? This leads into like a different thing, a later thing about like a politics local versus national.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So sorry, you finish your point, but I like tying things together like that.
Yeah. I guess it's just to do with. There will always be like a kind of a bunch of ideas which will be embedded into people's consciousness, like the kind of mob sort of consciousness, if that makes sense. And you've just got to make sure that
mob consciousness, I like that.
And you've got to make sure that the right ideas are embedded into there.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure it's kind of.
You gotta have wholesome memes, not subversive memes.
Yeah. Christian, genuinely kind of.
Because memes rule the day.
Mhm. But yeah, this does tie in well with that next question. If you want to skip over to that.
Yes.
Which one was it that you wanted to do?
The next thing on the list is what does it mean to be Christian in modernity?
Yeah. It's only if you want to
know what, I
skip to a
think
different one.
Right.
It's up to you.
Right.
You said
Well, I
about
think we can jump
localism.
back there after I get to localism. Where was that?
Is localism viable? That
Is
one.
localism viable? Is localism viable? I would say that localism would be the symptom of a healthy society.
Yeah.
Like people should get ramped up and crazy about who is elected for mayor,
Yeah.
sheriff, county judge, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
People should care about who is in the council, you know, uh, in their town or their county. People should care about that stuff.
And they should care about it more than what's going on in sort of the wider world, because I mean it's right at
Yeah.
the doorstep. It's what's actually happening around you, what you can see.
Well, like especially for Americans, it's like Americans do and basically kind of have to and should worry about other states the same way that most countries worry about other countries.
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
Because
most
the
things-
relations that the states have to each other are similar to
Yeah.
foreign countries.
most things happen within the state, don't they? So, but everyone is so fixated.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from my perspective as a Brit, on the sort of presidential politics and the presidential run.
Yeah, like governors only started getting the spotlight that I would say they deserve. 'Cause they actually are sort of the most powerful political office. Because they're not bound by like federal stuff the way that the president is. No, so like, it's like governors have only started getting the spotlight recently because they've started going against the regime on rare
Yeah.
occasions.
So, what do you think of the following parts of that? So, is it more of a lifestyle instead of a worldview? And are we not left vulnerable to outside intervention?
I would say that
Go on.
that's the reason why you have like a different. It's like specialty stuff. It's like you have some people who it's their job to make sure that the things are taken care of at home, and people whose job it is to make sure that things are taken care of abroad.
Yeah.
That's why the military and the police are different forces. And I feel like voting or whatever other stuff, like government ought to be treated the same way.
Yeah.
And like for an ordinary person to care about, well, not just care about, because like the truth is that like stuff internationally can sort of have an impact on them. Yeah. No, but I feel like, yeah. So I feel like, like maybe they kind of have to right now, but I feel like if things were good and healthy, they wouldn't. So I would say that localism is a desirable symptom of a desirable state of affairs.
Yeah. I mean, to clarify, when I said, is it more a lifestyle instead of a worldview, I'm thinking the people who say, oh yeah, I'm going to go off-grid living, I'm going to live in some sort of in the middle of nowhere and start this society.
Yeah.
Is that more just a lifestyle and something that you want, kind of a way of living?
Well, if it were a
or is it
lifestyle,
like,
people would
because
be
of your beliefs that you
achieving
want
it.
that? Yeah.
I think that's a worldview just because the number of people who espouse that sort of thing versus the number of people who have done it is kind of stark.
Yeah.
Like maybe only 20% of the people who talk about that stuff actually do it. So,
I mean, is that,
Okay, right.
is that a good thing? Because lifestyle seems, to describe something as a lifestyle does sound apolitical, but as in,
well, yeah, but politics
Without
is
values
kind
or
of, as
anything.
we've discussed,
yeah.
politics is not actually like. It's really not all that important. The
Yeah.
thing that we really need to worry about is philosophy and religion, and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, because it's closer to the core, because it's closer to the spiritual world,
Yeah.
which is like what actually makes things happen.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is that kind of thing, the off-grid desire or this sort of society in the middle of nowhere, is that like a lifestyle in the sense of just an interest or a hobby, like just as something like, I don't know, someone liking basketball or golf or fishing or walking is? And if so,
Yeah,
is
so
that
like,
is that bad?
is it serious or is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't think that it is exactly bad. I think. That is a good question. I think for some people it definitely is sort of like a hobby thing, but I think that's fine because it's very wholesome, and wholesome hobbies are important.
Yeah.
But I would say that for other people it is a more all-encompassing lifestyle, and I would say that for them it's good because it's a very wholesome, all-encompassing lifestyle.
And I mean, I would say those people treat it quite seriously as well. It's like they view they have their views of sort of the cities as sort of the filth of humanity and cesspits sort of thing, and it's not just like a hobby or an interest. It's tied to their worldviews. That's what I was trying to. That's the question I was trying to ask. And are we not left vulnerable to outside intervention? That was kind of asking.
Yeah,
okay,
that's definitely the biggest. That's definitely the biggest problem with that, or like the biggest worry.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say that kind of depends, because like if you don't really have any resources worth taking, no one's gonna bother you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that just goes down to how evil were the elites. Will they just destroy something for the sake of destroying it because it's opposed to, and
it's like
their ideology?
So you know what? I think that we will know that it's too late when they build a gender clinic in Pitcairn Island.
That's a great.
Back to that.
Yeah, it's a great kind of 180, 360 there, going back to the start.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well you gotta tie back. It's a good way to keep the audience's attention.
I'm sure they're glued to the screen.
Yeah,
Are we done with that
question? Okay. Yeah, I think we are. So getting into Christianity and modernity. I think that we sort of talked about this a bit already. Like, what does it mean to be a Christian in modernity? How does our... Oh, hold on. The screen just went black for a moment. Oh, crap.
How does our faith alter how we act in today's political climate?
Yeah, well, I would say that Christianity should be... like, regardless of your denomination, it should be sort of all-encompassing. It should be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain kind of zealous crusader ethic, which is sadly lacking outside of like Africa.
Yeah.
And maybe South Korea. Because like South Korean people are kind of fanatical. There's a lot of Christian denominations there that get accused of being cults. Some of them I'm sure are. Some of them I'm sure are just more like zealous, but mostly wholesome. But like, what's it? Church doesn't actually believe in the like transfiguration of the communion. Like when we do like the bread and the water, or like other churches do the wafers and the wine. We don't believe that it turns into like the literal like flesh and blood of Jesus, but I do think that like if you are Catholic, you really do have to believe in that, like really hardcore. And I would say that I would definitely, though I don't believe in it myself, I would be more fond of Catholic people who really like really, really strongly believe in that sort of thing.
Yeah, it goes down to taking your faith seriously rather than just a side thing.
Yeah. But also just, I would say that that's sort of a thing where like, if that is possible, then why not greater things still?
That...
No, it's something, yeah?
That's an interesting point because I was thinking recently about and the sort of nature of salvation. Who is saved, and are people outside certain denominations saved? And I think it's very simplistic to just say that people only in a certain denomination will be granted X. But yeah, that's
well, I think the worst thing. I think the worst thing has got to be Calvinism.
Yeah.
Where they see it as like some kind of lottery where it's like random or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure there's Calvinists in that light audience that could illuminate us, but it basically just seems to completely disregard free will, which is sort of the most horrible thing in my perspective as LDS, because we believe that the reason why Lucifer was cast out of heaven was because he wanted to abolish free will and force everyone. It's not just that he wanted to usurp God, it's that he wanted to usurp God and abolish free will so that everyone would be forced to do exactly as he wanted.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's just down to well, did God already...
no, as I was saying, no,
Sorry, go on.
Keep your thing in mind. I don't want you to forget it. But to finish the point I was making earlier, about like the nature of who is saved, the way that I see it, at least, is, I don't believe in predestination. At least not. Like I don't think that God makes anyone to be damned.
Okay.
I think it is our own choices and stuff in this world, like God commands everyone to be good, and no one is doomed from the time that he comes out of his mother's womb. It is our choices which cause us to be... What's it? Christ built the door, but we have to open it. And it is our own actions which shut the door, so that we are damned, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah. It's quite difficult for me because I would say I hold to some reformed views, in the sense that I don't think anyone can come to God on their own terms. I think it has to be through the mercy that God gives, and I don't know how many works someone can do, or how much kind of... Well, I don't think humans can do it on their own efforts.
Yeah.
That's
the way that I would... Yeah. Well, I understand what you mean, but the thing that we basically teach in my church is that God is always there. It's just whether or not you pay attention to him.
Yeah.
God is always, at all times, extending mercy and salvation to all people.
Yeah.
And the only reason or way that a person could be damned is if they willingly turn away from it.
Mm-hmm.
If they push it away, it's like, God will never leave you. You have to push him away. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yeah. I mean, sometimes I have the conception of everyone is always sort of trending towards their own evil ways, and if that makes sense, they're always on an evil sort of path and progression.
Well, the natural man is an enemy to God.
Yeah, and it's only by God's mercy
the natural
that they
man
can
is
be changed or go anywhere
else. Yeah, and that certainly doesn't contradict too. Although interpretation of what you just said might contradict, but there is definitely, it's like in my church, it is taught the natural man is an enemy to God. It's that like humans, unlike all of the animals, are have evil in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
However, we also, unlike all other animals, we are intelligent and we have free will, so that we can choose to resist that. And to to sort of through submitting to God and stuff. We can we can be saved and stuff. Well, I wouldn't just say saved. Often in my church we talk about like exaltation, because there is this doctrine that basically anybody who isn't an apostate can be like saved. You know, they can go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like heaven has got multiple tiers, and you know, like the lowest tier of heaven is like the normal Protestant idea of heaven, where it's just really nice. It's just like trees and fluffy white clouds, and it's just nice. But then there's the the higher kingdom, and then there's like the highest kingdom as well. There's like three basically: the terrestrial, telestial, and celestial.
Yeah.
And the celestial is basically meant for those people who are. Well, basically, it's just meant for like the people who like like do the best. Like those people who like are really disciplined and diligent in following the teachings of the gospel and applying them and stuff. I could go more into LDS theology at a different time. But I don't know. Yeah. Oh gosh, I've gotten off track. What were we? We were talking about what is the role of Christianity in modernity.
Yeah. I mean, just to add one more thing, I mean,
Yeah.
it might sound quite cheesy, but sometimes I have the conception of God as having this whole world is basically just one big story, and obviously with all stories there's always a dip, and then eventually order's established, and in this case,
Well, no, that's definitely true. I mean, that's literally like what the Bible says.
Yeah, and in this case, it's like people who work. It's a very easy way of conceiving it, I suppose. It's like people who are the good guys and people who are the bad guys. People who who further God's plan and God's word. And whether it's by, we can debate about whether it's by their own free will or anything like that. I don't care about that as much. It's just the sense of
show must go on.
Yeah, and as a result of that, if they further God's word and do all that sort of thing, they're saved no matter what kind of denomination or kind of thing they're in.
Yeah.
And
Just
if
as long as they advance God's word. Yeah. I think that's quite fair. Also, I would say that what would I say? Yeah. I would say that's definitely quite a reasonable view to have of the nature of the world, and I'd say that that's a view that, although I don't necessarily share it, it's definitely one that is very easy for me to understand, since I'm sort of an aspiring author. So, like, it's definitely come to mind of like when I make a story and I've got like the protagonists and the antagonists and the conflict and the resolution and the status quo and all sorts of things.
Yeah. I guess the point here is not to get caught up too much on theology. It's not to have it as the
don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. Things
oh
that
gosh, you know what?
Focused on too much. Don't.
A great metaphor that I heard for this once was like in terms of theology and the scriptures and doctrine, don't worry about whether the pearly gates swing or roll.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't wander out onto the thin branches of the tree of life. Stick to the trunk, and you'll never fall.
Yeah, it's true. Christians have shed too much blood, of each other's blood, just over sort of theological points. I mean, I love history, and one of the figures I have been looking at recently is Charles I in England, and his conception was very interesting. He, during his time as king, didn't worry too much about theology, and there were big theological disputes at the time. He cared instead about the church and upholding the church over anything else, and it was the church which was far more important than these kind of disputes that
Yeah.
people below were having.
Although to be quite fair though, that might not be for the absolute. That might not have been for the absolutely noble reasons that such a person would have today, because of course in the Middle Ages, religious the church was a political entity in a way that it's not anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like nowadays, apart from like the Pope occasionally voicing his opinion on like, hey, remember, abortion is bad, please vote against it this year, never really get involved in politics.
Yeah. But I don't know how good
same
of a
thing
that
goes
is, in a way.
I would say that at times it has been a good thing, you know, because I think that because I think that there have been times in history when when people have essentially dispensed with religious truth in order to advance politics.
Yeah.
You know, like I really do think that a lot of although I'm not Catholic, I am definitely sympathetic to the idea that a lot of most of the Protestant Reformation wasn't really based on any genuine religious conviction and was just based on political power.
Okay, yeah.
And just
I mean, yeah, sure,
you know, like
sure the
yeah.
advance of the Reformation definitely, I'd say, was supported by secular rulers. I mean, Henry VIII, for one, was a perfect example to increase his own power.
especially outside of Germany.
Yeah.
You know, like inside of Germany. Well, although to be fair, you know, like Germany wasn't one. Germany was not one political entity back in the day, but you know, as far as I'm aware, you know, like Protestants and Catholics were sort of able to tolerate one another in Germany in a way that they didn't anywhere else, because in Germany it was a genuine religious question as to whether like Protestantism versus Catholicism.
Yeah.
Whereas in most of Europe, it was a religious cover for a political thing.
Yeah, I mean, they had the... I mean, I would say that they did have the 30 Years' War, which kind of centered in Germany. That was...
Yeah, no, I guess that is true. So it's not as if it was, like, you know, it wasn't bloodless.
Mm.
No, but it wasn't exactly like the endless back and forth like you had in other parts of the world.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm not sure how long...
You know what? It's not actually an area of history that I'm actually that well versed on. So
Well, I'd say the same for me, yeah.
I think I'll put it aside before I make a great fool of myself. Right. Okay.
What have we concluded from this? Not to get too hung up over theological disputes was perhaps one.
Yeah. You know what? Focus on the trunk of the tree of life.
Yeah.
And don't wander away into the branches because they are thin, and that's where people fall off.
A faith should be your politics and your views all should be an expression and come out from your faith. Faith should be the root of everything.
Yes, faith should be the root of everything, because faith basically is, you know. Basically everything in the mortal world is an expression of something in the spiritual world. So you need to have a spiritual center in order to you know what? It's like because the spiritual world sort of has control over the mortal world. Best way for you to have control over yourself in a sort of mortal fashion is to first you must have control of yourself spiritually, sort of thing. You know, like if you have the right orientation in the spiritual world, you will be you will not be manipulated by supernatural entities in the mortal world. Something like that. I feel like that's a real gem there that I sort of stumbled upon, and I
Mm.
hope that I've not scuffed it up too badly.
No, no, it's very true. I'd also add to recognise that there is sin is a great kind of. I wouldn't say I don't want to say benefit to being a Christian, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Like progressivism, there's so many parts of it which are genuinely sinful, genuinely corruptible, and should be avoided and recognised for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's
My chewing
objective
isn't too
evil.
loud, is it?
No, no, you're
Wait,
not too loud
objective
at all.
evil? Oh, for sure, for sure. Objective evil. That is definitely one of the biggest things, and I would say that objective evil is probably one of the things that makes me more like, well, not just sympathetic, but like I am sort of willing to sort of like cooperate and tolerate Islam in a way that some other people on our side are not. Basically, just because, well, we both believe in objective evil, and their definition is close enough to ours that there can be a truce. Not exactly an alliance in the same way that there can be with other Christians, but close enough. We can agree, focus on worse, on bigger fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's an interesting point. Do we have anything else to add?
Nothing comes to my mind.
No. I guess the next question is very similar to what we've just discussed.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I mean, this is.
I feel
guess-
like we sort of covered it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
Ecumenism?
Yeah, I don't want to skip over it entirely because what I was trying to get at here
Yeah.
is
I think that at times it is, but
Yeah.
at times it isn't.
mhm.
Like I would say that cooperation between different Protestant sects is to be expected because it's like, yeah, fair enough. They're all so small, they sort of have to bandy together like a school of fish.
Mhm.
It's the only way they can survive. Cooperation with the Catholic Church and Protestant organizations is like, yeah, that seems genuine. It's like, it's I probably find, like cancer research or something. It's perfectly ordinary.
Mhm.
Sort of like pan-Christian stuff. Way that I look at that is basically just do they include LDS as Christian or not? If they exclude it, and to be fair, that's like very biased of me because I am LDS, but why should I give the time of day to people who don't recognize the validity of my religion?
Yeah.
So that's how with pan-Christian stuff. That's how I feel about that. Is
Yeah.
if they are positive or neutral, my church, then I'm willing to give them a chance. But if they're negative, then I just have no, I won't even give the time of day to it.
It's interesting that the LDS Church isn't seen as a Protestant church because it's kind of a product of Protestantism in America.
Yeah, well, ethnically almost more than theologically, because like theologically,
Oh
we're
yeah.
almost more similar to like Catholics
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
have like strict hierarchy and stuff,
Mhm.
and we have the priesthood, of course, which is like I shouldn't talk too much about it, but basically, it's like we believe that there are, like mortal men are ordained, with like a sort of like small delegated amount of like God's power to do miracles and stuff in the modern day. No, usually not very big, but the possibility for big stuff is still there. Anyway, but I would like the big thing that I always hear, like Protestants especially, Catholics ironically complain about it less, but they still will occasionally, is they're like, oh, LDS are not real Christians because it's like, oh, they're polytheistic because they think that God and Jesus are separate people.
There's certainly a view amongst, I mean, even Protestant churches, the mainline ones, of limiting Christianity to ones that adhere to Trinitarian doctrine.
Yeah. Which I think is just like kind of absurd because that would exclude. Well, you know, to be fair, I don't have the most experience with Jehovah's Witnesses. As far as I can tell, they're basically just like normal, like Protestants, you know.
I mean, are they even considered Protestant? That's an interesting question. I mean, if the LDS
Like,
church isn't, would they be?
I think that they would be, and I think that they would consider themselves because I think that they do lean on some of Martin Luther's teachings.
Okay.
But they might even be more puritanical than that. They might be like, no, Martin Luther is too innovative.
Yeah.
No. The Holy Bible is everything you need. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't have all that much experience with them. They give off good enough vibes that I'm not worried about them.
Someone who I watched quite a lot of online, this pastor, he said that Jehovah's Witness, there's two different types of sort of heretical churches. Ones that adhere to sort of the word of God but don't act it out, and ones sort of but don't act it out in practice but adhere to it in theory, and ones that have sound theological, ones that sort of act well but have sort of heretical laws and sort of teachings.
Yeah.
And I guess Jehovah's Witnesses are the latter.
Yeah.
They have very wacky views, very strange, but I wouldn't. But sort of experience I've had with them. I mean, there's a church in my town that I'm living in. They all seem quite pleasant.
Yeah.
They don't seem that horrible.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I would actually say is I would say that the Bible kind of refutes that idea that like a heretical church could be something which teaches wacky stuff, but the people behave nicely because, well, by your fruits ye shall know them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would say that like judging people by their actions and stuff is sort of like the ultimate thing.
I mean, Puritans.
And that's like what's
in the. Sorry, go on. Finish your point.
Well, that was the end of my thing. Go on about the Puritans. What were you going to say
Puritans.
About my ancestors?
Puritans viewed, so the way they worked out who was saved to them was seeing their actions and the things they did as an expression of their faith, as an outward symbol and outward representation and expression of it.
Yeah.
Kind of, whereas
Which is maybe a little materialistic, but it's not that bad.
Whereas Catholics they see what you do with the sacraments and with all that sort of thing in your works.
A ceremony.
Faith. Yeah, as being not products of your faith, but almost contributing to it. So it's the other way around.
Yeah. Now the thing that I would say, and I'm sure there's like a more specific LDS theological thing. But the thing that I would say is just faith and works are one and the same, and like they both manifest each other, so you can't really try to separate them. Like the more deep faith you have, the more good works you will do, and the more good works you do, the more deep faith you will have.
But I guess it's what causes the other, and what's the origin. I would say the origin is faith myself, which causes the good
I
work.
would say I would say that it could go either way with different people, and I would say that uh, I could say that I would say that it goes differently with different people.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of myself, I'm not even sure which one applies more to myself. I would say though that I've definitely seen and heard of some people for whom, like it was like the works later manifested the faith. So I do think that's possible. But I mean, just like in my own personal life, the way that like the works and faith is sort of like pounded each other so much that I can't really figure out where one ends and the other begins.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because it's like, oh, I have a faith-related experience, and it makes me want to go, do nice things for people. And then I do go do nice things for people, and it reinvigorates my faith. And
Okay.
How are you supposed to separate that?
Okay. Yeah, I can see that interpretation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just go back to the original question.
Yeah, sorry if that was a bit much of a tangent.
No, we love a tangent.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just say that this might be an example of the friend-enemy distinction that our good friend, the academic agent, has pointed out. In that base churches cooperating with base churches is good. POS churches cooperating with POS churches is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's a very like, oh gosh. It's a very corrupt, like modern way of putting it, but that is correct.
Yeah.
Friends good, enemies bad. Oh yeah, no. So like a thing that I just remembered is like I never got on to like. So another thing is like I am generally, when it's like Christian denominations cooperating with each other, I'm generally happy about it, unless one of the churches is like like explicitly like something bad, like Miley Cyrus's woke church.
Yeah.
But then whereas then with like when Christian churches are cooperating with Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Can kind of go either way, because I've definitely seen some stuff like that where I think it is really good, and I've seen some other stuff like that when I think it's really woke and cringe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then when like Christian churches, like trying to do stuff with like Buddhism or Hindus,
That's
I think
very cringe
is
sometimes.
Yes, I would say that ranges from like boomerism. No, of just like, it's like, oh yes, we're trying to get along, kumbaya, and I think that's not bad. It's just boomerism.
Yeah.
I would say that it ranges from that to like woke nonsense, like horrible woke nonsense, like when the Church of England had vicars like kneeling at the altar of a Hindu temple in London.
Oh yeah. Some kind of cringe-worthy sort of. How do you pronounce that? Ecumenism. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? No, I just thought of a thing. Is like I guess the thing that I would say is, as long as my church is the one in the dominant position, I'm fine with it. Oh gosh.
Okay.
Well, maybe not necessarily my church, but as long as a Christian church is the one in the dominant position.
Yeah.
Especially when it's mine or Catholics, just because I grew up LDS and I've always had lots of Catholic friends. So,
Yeah.
Well, especially like growing up in the Midwest. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm definitely most
go on.
open-minded to that. Yeah. No. So I guess that's my our opinions of ecumenism.
Yeah, and I'd say for the next one, we should skip that and go back to it after we've answered the one after it.
Well, libertarianism.
We should skip it to the next one and then go back to it afterwards.
Well, I don't have much of opinion on it. I would just say it's like, is libertarianism still credible? Or has it been disproven in the past few decades? It's like I would say that it's like it seems like impossibly utopian.
Yeah. And
You
it's
know?
just how can you desire for small government, like which has, I don't know, the elements of it just seem like it's not workable, just infeasible.
Well, like what's it like? What's it? I don't really want to have like a huge government that gets involved in everybody's business.
Yeah.
I want to have a society where people are responsible and can be trusted to take care of themselves. But I'm not. You know what? I guess it's just like a struggle between like what is worse? You know, what is lower at the moment? My faith in humanity in general, or my faith in a theoretical elite? Because you know, like the real elite that exists is like definitely horrible and could never do anything right. But the theoretical elite is like they don't exist. So how can I trust them either?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like we can argue about libertarianism after we win.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'd just say that I think that if you have a big enough country, you need to have a big enough government, and I think that it's kind of inevitable that the government.
Well,
will
I would almost
expand
say that the
to
bigger your
capacity.
country is, I would almost say the bigger your country is, the smaller the government ought to be.
Okay.
Because, what's it like when you have a big government in a small area? They kind of can't be tyrannical because everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
You know, like if the mayor or whatever, like if the emir of Dubai did something ridiculous and well, Dubai is a terrible example because everyone would just move away because no one's tied to it. If the king of Liechtenstein did something weird and horrible, it wouldn't take long for the Liechtensteinian people to. Is Liechtenstein even a good example? Because like, do they even have that much identity?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask a Liechtensteinian.
Yeah.
I think libertarianism just forgets that there will always be an elite which will always have certain things which it will enforce.
Well, because you can't destroy power, because you can't destroy energy. You can use it, you can redirect it.
Yeah. Power will always be present, and it's just how you deal with it. That's the question.
Yeah. So you know what? I guess I would just say is like that's why I like constitutionalism. You know, is just it's good to have explicit rules for the way that things ought to be. And then you know, because of course, even though power doesn't necessarily have to obey those rules, well, yeah.
I think
it at least provides like an obvious like mark of this is when things should be. Well, you know what? Because for all that America is sort of like the American government is horrible, it still isn't nearly as bad as anything in Europe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like America still is not as paused as France or the UK or Germany or Sweden.
Although France does have some quite based politicians around, and
yeah, but they're the French. They're contentious. Of course, they have a few based people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only based person in Germany is the heir to the Prussian monarchy.
Mhm.
And he's got no hope of getting power. Anyway, right? No, oh gosh, that was a sidetrack. I think you're right. We should have skipped that one.
It's all right. I'll just add one point. If I put my European lens onto it, if you can even consider English European anyway, I view it in the sense of what would be desirable is the transaction of power, the system of power that was present pretty much before the Industrial Revolution, in that the theoretical power rested on a small group of people. So like a let's just pretend it's a monarch.
Small group of people that were responsible for things,
Yeah.
and if they act wrongly, you can execute them.
Yeah, well, the monarch had a
Maybe not execute them, but they can get in trouble.
Yeah, well, the monarch had theoretical power, loads of theoretical power, appointed by divine right,
Yeah.
and but the actual power of that monarch, because it wasn't a very globalized world back then, the actual power of that monarch was limited because the monarch couldn't, just go to order the local sort of demolish villages as he pleased or something, or do some sort of terrible progressive thing. It's like the actual power was very, very distributed and devolved, and rested on sort of localities. And I think that was a much more desirable way of ruling things than compared to today, where theoretical power rests
and I
on
guess that
the
goes
people.
that ties back into localism, doesn't it?
Yeah, because theoretical power today rests in the people. We can all vote, woo! But in actuality,
Yeah,
how much does
theoretical
that change?
power rests in the people, but
Yeah.
oh gosh, you're right. It's completely inverted,
Mm-hmm.
It's like theoretical power used to rest with the king, but real power sort of existed with the people, or at least a large group of people.
Yeah.
But now theoretical power exists with the people, but real power exists with a small group of elites.
Yeah. And because
That
we're
are-
so globalized and there's so much technology, there's so many more means with which this very globalized, powerful elite can just achieve its ends. Its terrible ends.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, we are basically living in That Terrible Strength by C.S. Lewis, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. That hideous strength. Yeah.
Hideous Strength, right. That's what it's called. That Hideous Strength, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean,
go on.
I don't know, it's just the demonic aliens, it's just a matter of time.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh. Thank goodness. What was I thinking about? Oh, yes. Right. So, moving on to what is the role of... You know what? Could you please read it for me since your screen is flashing?
Yeah. I will just say as well, keep an eye on the time because it's about 20 to 5 now if you do need to go anytime soon.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, what is the role of Christians within the community surrounding Academic Agent, and should they associate themselves with it?
I would say that the role of basically is just to try and red pill is maybe the wrong word because I think he's had quite enough of those already.
Gospel.
But basically, yeah, to God pill, to gold pill. Ooh. Yeah, or maybe brass pill if you want to get with the, like the Revelations imagery.
Yeah.
Or iron pill. Ooh, the iron rod.
I remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a hot.
I would basically say, that the role of Christians in, well, not just Academic Agents circle, but in sort of all political circles is to basically just to counter signal any any kind of like materialist nonsense, and to reward people for when they take a more scripturally sound worldview.
Yeah. Material ideologies, scientific ideologies, the scientism sort of movements of the 20th century with communism and fascism, throw them out, and any influences they have on the any community should be thrown out. And if we can have any influence in them, then that's what we should aim for.
Yeah. So basically, is troll the pagans.
Yeah.
Annoy the fascists. Oh gosh, I felt my hair turn blue for a moment when I said that. Yeah.
Punch a Nazi.
Oh gosh, no. No, punch your don't punch anyone. No, it's
Yeah.
turn the other cheek, but keep a loaded handgun.
Yeah.
Walk softly and carry a big stick. That's oh gosh. You're not gonna have to edit too much out, but yeah. Okay, yeah, no. So just turn the other cheek, walk softly, and carry a big stick. And always be trolling the pagans, and never let the pagans be trolling you.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think we just answered that question.
yeah, yeah.
Are you able to see the next one, or is it still flashing for you?
Local.
I think that's the case when I watch some of your stuff, is that it flashes. So maybe it's the same
Yeah.
thing. I wonder why that happens.
What do we want? Would regime change or a new political party change anything? It would only, and like we've said before, it like the everything being a reflection of the spiritual world. It would only change things so far as what's it like? What's it? It doesn't matter how many times you change the suits until you change the people that are in the suits.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many times you change the politicians until you change the supernatural influence behind them.
Yeah.
We need to focus on the hand, not the puppet.
Mhm. I don't want to be too boomerish in this take, but there is some value to voting in the sense of seeing it as time givers and time takers. Who will give us the most time, and who will accelerate things quicker?
And that's true. That's true. I think that's a very good thing. Yeah. I would say that like maybe in terms of like regime change, in order to have regime change, you basically need a new party because all the old parties are terribly irredeemable. But there's already a bunch of new parties, so like maybe we should focus on capturing one of them.
Yeah.
But also it's like we have to remember we have to be honest, we have to be decent. Because that's the only way that we could win, because that's God's way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess the thing that I'd say is like, oh yeah, yes, dog. Apollo, no. That one thing. Why do you? There. Right. It's like sort of like clean your room before you go to save the world.
Yeah.
It's definitely good to have some kind of end goal of like regime change and stuff and saving the country, but we should not get ahead of ourselves. We need to focus on making ourselves into sort of like worthy, heroic people, and each other. First ourselves, then each other, then our communities, then the world.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I guess that's the thing, is you just need to have your priorities straight. Is like, can we do something like that? Well, yeah, maybe, God willing and stuff, like it assuming that this, not assuming, but unless this really is the last shebang for the second coming, which it very well might be.
Which is another question which we'll go on to.
Which we have no way of knowing, so really I think we ought to live righteously. Yeah. You know what? Live righteously and you'll be fine either way, right? Because if you live righteously, you will. If we live righteously, and it's not the end of history, then things will be fine, and we'll make a new golden age, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if we live righteously, and it is the end of history, we will be on God's sides and therefore win. So we win either way. So just live righteously.
I would say with the kind of the time givers and the time takers analogy I just put out there, you would, if say in America you vote for someone like Donald Trump and then you establish your own little community, that community is a lot less likely to be obliterated by the feds than it would be if it was like, I don't know, AOC in charge.
If it was who in charge?
AOC.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
As much as I almost don't want to care about it, but unfortunately there is some kind of, you have to a certain degree.
What,
But
the
again,
dogs?
sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, I think we can go on, right? So what was the next thing? I want to try doing this outside.
Okay.
We've got less than 20 minutes, so let's just do one more thing before we call it
That sounds like a
wrap.
plan. Yeah. Do your views surrounding the second coming affect your worldview?
Oh gosh, I think we just talked about that.
We did. I mean,
So yeah, just righteously, and you'll be fine either way, won't you?
I will say that it's almost like live every day like it's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say, really.
Because the truth really is that, like, you really could die
Yeah.
any day, so you really ought to live righteously enough that you're not afraid of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen one day, and I guess that just gives both of us a sense of hope. Which, if you're secular and an atheist, you can't really get that same thing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's something that could have been a question. What are we to do with secular people?
What do you mean?
We can worry about that later.
Yeah.
I'm not proposing any Fed posty things.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but I mean, just like, should we just give up on them or not? But yeah, that
I
gosh,
think
that's a big
Yeah.
thing. We can worry about that later.
Yeah. That's a good question to tackle at another time.
Good, but it's big and worrisome. So let's focus on that later. Okay, so,
Let's focus on the less important things like the second coming.
oh gosh, oh have mercy. Okay, gosh, no. Right, so now we already talked about the second coming. So then let's get on to how important is church attendance. What? I would say that it's I would say that it's important, but it's maybe not. It's not as big as some people would lead you to believe, because the truth is that there was a time, like not very long ago, in like British history, for instance, when most people were still going to church, even though most people didn't really believe in it, just because it was just like, oh, it's just the thing you do.
Yeah.
So I think that like church attendance means nothing unless it is the manifestation of deep, profound convictions.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's like I guess it's priorities, isn't it? It's just to do with your faith first, and then church attendance, and the church attendance should reinforce it, but it's not the origin point. You shouldn't go to church. You shouldn't go to church thinking, "This is where I'll find my faith." You go to church to develop it.
Yes. Church. Okay. What are our priorities? Oh, that's big. That ought to be saved for later.
Yeah. Well, there's another sort of mini question.
That could be like an hour-long stream.
I think so. Yeah. Before that, what should you do if you find your own church paused? And I should have not capitalised church there, as well.
What should you do if you find your own church paused? If you're Protestant, it's really easy, and you just go church shopping.
Yeah.
Especially in America.
Yeah. There's about 1,000 different ones.
But yeah, well, especially in the South too. Like
Yeah.
up north, you get a bit more conformity with like the Lutherans and stuff. Especially out west. But like the further east and south you go, just the more fractious. It's like the Holy Roman Empire out here with all the schisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's absurd. It looks like an ethnic map of Africa. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was possible for so much diversity to exist among so few people in such a small amount of land.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how are these two people living next to each other? They're barely even the same species. Yeah.
Okay, so what would you do if
Anyway.
you find the Catholic, the
Roman Church
Orthodox,
paused.
the big ones? What would you find? What would you do if you find
The
them
big
paused?
one. Well, I've got no real experience with Orthodoxy. Like my big experience with the Orthodox Church is reading Dostoevsky.
Mm-hmm.
So my assumption would be that. Well, also like some YouTubers like Mr. Patriarch.
Yeah,
So
he's a good.
I don't know.
He's a good
They
egg.
seem nice. They seem nice and unpaused. So I guess, of course, like the big thing that I would always advocate for is like, it's like have you considered the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? However, like the thing is, like, yeah, although I definitely believe that like the theology and like the doctrine stuff is all very, very true, the people involved, again, they're nice, they're not based, or well,
Yeah.
not all of them, not all the time. Especially the closer you get to, the closer you get to, like the capital, especially like the closer you get to, like Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Generally, the less nice they get because like the more normal people are. Because basically, like outside of Utah, LDS Church basically just sort of attracts nice people.
Yeah.
So it ends up as just like a big snowball for niceness. But in Utah, just everyone is. So as a result, you kind of have to treat it more like the Catholic Church, where
Yeah.
even if you believe in it, you're gonna meet plenty. Like everybody is the thing. So yeah, all the good people are the thing, and all the bad people are the thing too, because just everybody's a member of the club. Yeah, so I guess I guess that's a thing that I would say is like you know what? I guess the thing that I'd say is just like by their fruits you shall know them,
Yeah.
and let the Spirit guide you. Because like, is your church really paused or is it just boomerish?
Yeah.
No, because it's only a small problem if it's boomerish. That's redeemable.
Yeah.
But
But if it's
like
paused,
there's a world of. Yeah, like it's not irredeemable if your local like Baptist church or whatever has a, like a cheesy. Like diversity, like ethnically diverse poster of like we're all children of God or something. Like, is that cheesy and corny and boomerish? Yes, but it's not like horrible. It's not like the same as a pride flag.
should you just?
Oh,
Yeah. I don't think you
the-
should leave it based on just like one thing.
Yeah. Actually, I would say that maybe you should, but that one thing is a big thing. It is.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
is the gays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your church cannot even condemn homosexuality, what is it good for? But I would say that there's something else that is like even more important than that. Is I would say that the abortion debate is the most important thing. Like that is my biggest dividing line between like friend and enemy. Is like pro-life. Don't care if they're atheist. Don't care if they're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. Doesn't matter. Anybody who is pro-life is friend, and anybody who is pro-choice is enemy.
At least they uphold life if they subscribe to pro-life.
Yeah. So basically, just so I guess that would be like my final thing of like the most important thing. No, is the thing that marks irredeemable posedness is if it's okay with abortion. No
Yeah.
religion that is okay with abortion should be given the time of day.
I will say, as well, to kind of, I guess, as one of these final points, don't be a coward. If your own church is expecting something that's sort of unbiblical or something that you have very strong opposition to, don't just say, I'm done with that, bye. Because, how you can have any success, any kind of victory if you just constantly abandon things and hop from church to church.
Yeah. Well, also, it's like, why are you assuming malice? It's like, because I have found, like in my experiences, that, like, if something actually heretical is happening, you usually can get people right back on track if you just remind them of, hey, isn't this the doctrine of the thing? And they'll go like, oh yeah.
It's often just ignorance that these things are caused rather than pure malice. I mean, malice is sometimes the case, but it's more often than not ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so next point, let's see if we can wrap all of it up before... Oh, we got 5 minutes left, oh my goodness, what is... Having realized the extent to which the odds are stacked against us, given up by not focusing on the political... I wouldn't say that we have, I'd just say that we've like realigned our priorities, I would say more with like absolute reality.
Yeah, I think we've recognised that the scale of what we're up against, and we've just realigned our priorities, as you said.
Because we're up against something even bigger and more horrible than, an international communist pedo cabal.
Yeah.
We are against. No, we are up against the devil himself.
Yeah, we're up against the devil, and that's quite a monumental task, and God's the only one driving us that can drive us to victory.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well always remember, a mighty fortress is our God,
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite lines from that song is when it talks about like how horrible the devil is.
Yeah.
But then it says, but a little word shall not slay him, but a little word shall foil him, shall beat him. Something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Which is like a reference to, Christ being the Word, capital W.
Yeah.
But also, so that's just one of those like, short little lines that is wrapped up in like so much context. I just love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this last thing, is it objectively harmful for your children to send them into state school? I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
There's probably like allowing children to smoke is probably the only thing worse for their long-term health than sending them to public education.
It corrupts their mental and spiritual health. Well, it has a risk of that if the people in the state school are corrupted.
Well, which, virtually all of them are, because that's kind of partially for like, whatever secular political reasons, but also, it's like it's captured institution basically in most, if not all, of the Anglosphere.
I guess I can understand why people send them to a state school, because it's a lot of time to homeschool your children, or send them to or a lot of money to send them to a private school. But it's just like they are your own kids, They're worth the time. They're worth the money.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like the internet is free now, so
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like virtually all the information in the world is free. The only thing you have to worry about is time.
And give time, because they deserve time, and you deserve to give them a right education, and that makes them into good, faithful, and upright people.
Yeah, like 5 hours of your time every day with your children is going to do more for their good than any money that you might use to send them into a private school or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this video of this one woman who's saying she sends her kids to a public school, to a state school, because
2 minute warning, by the way.
Yeah, she wants them to kind of experience secularism as young people, and I think they're children.
Yeah.
They
Gosh, you
shouldn't
know what?
really be exposed
We're
to that.
kind of.
Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah. Well, no. With what you just said, I think. Well, I think that there's sort of two problems, because if you expose them to too much too young, they won't have any kind of barriers, or like a.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they won't have any way to resist it, or to. They won't have any armor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you shelter them too much, well, the same exact thing will happen. You know, they won't have any tolerance. They won't have any understanding of. You know, like there's a lot of like young Christian, like devoutly Christian people who, like fundamentalist Christian youths who, like when they go to college, they completely lose their way because they'd never heard a secular argument in their life before.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that there is a certain point at which it is like good to inoculate your children early, but I'd just say it's like you got to be very careful and clever about it.
Yeah. That's a lovely
Cunning
point
as
to end.
serpents and innocent as doves.
Mm-hmm.
Good point to end. Yes, I agree. Exactly on the dot, 11 o'clock, or 5 o'clock for you, I suppose. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. We hope to see you again soon. Yes, please remember to subscribe. Remember to join the loyal Lobster Legion, and in our march against all the corrupt institutions of the world, and our fight against the devil himself.
He's a good chap. He deserves subscribing to. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Englander. So signing off.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. That's a wrap.